Welcome to The Explainer! Okay, so today we're tackling a genuinely universal problem. I can practically guarantee every single one of you watching has faced this at some point: social disrespect. You know exactly the moment I'm talking about, right? You're sitting in a meeting, maybe you're at a dinner with family or just hanging out with friends. You share an opinion, or hey, maybe you're just sitting there minding your own business, and then bam, a bullying, totally disrespectful comment just gets thrown at you out of absolutely nowhere. The whole room goes dead quiet, all eyes are on you, it's a classic social ambush. So let's dive right into this, because today we're going to learn exactly how to build an unshakable calm.
Because when that ambush hits, your brain usually floods with like 1,000 terrible ideas, doesn't it? It's usually coming from someone like, let's call him Chad in accounting, who somehow thinks being arrogant is a personality trait. Or maybe it's your joking uncle who constantly uses, "oh, I'm just kidding," as this get-out-of-jail-free card to be completely rude. So what do? Do you argue back and make a whole scene? Do you let out this awkward, super lame laugh just so you don't seem upset? Or do you just freeze, staying totally quiet while you literally blow up inside? Well, the truth is, any of those three reactions ultimately feels like a huge loss. You end up leaving, going home and just replaying the whole scenario in the shower, inventing that perfect comeback you should have said, and you end up feeling like you've gone totally crazy.
But hey, you are definitely not alone in this, and we're going to fix it today. Think of this as our quest log for leveling up your social operating system. We'll start with the social ambush, move on to unmasking the control game, then we'll build your arsenal of indifference, and finally, we'll unlock the ultimate immunity. We are taking you from being an easy target to being completely untouchable.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the social ambush, and the quest for unshakable calm.
And before we even touch on specific tactics, we have to completely reset our expectations about what a win actually looks like. Let's be brutally honest here. The whole idea of, punishing someone or destroying them with a witty one-liner or getting revenge, it just sounds exhausting. When you fight back, you instantly drop right down to their level. And even worse, you're basically letting them live rent-free in your head. You really don't need verbal martial arts for this. What you actually need is mental judo. So what exactly is mental judo? It's not about blocking or striking back. It's about taking an opponent's negative momentum and using it against them. You aren't fighting back. Instead, you're gracefully stepping aside and just letting them stumble face first over their own inflated ego. And we are going to use this brilliant core concept to build a highly scalable toolkit of responses for you. Moving on to Section 2, unmasking the control game and why they want you to react.
To actually defeat this strategy, we have to understand the opponent. This disrespect, it is almost never a random attack. It's a highly predictable game. When someone disrespects you, they aren't looking for the truth. They are launching what is known as a control test. Picture a fisherman casting a line, right? The hook is baited with this juicy, irresistible insult, and they're standing there desperately waiting to see if you're going to bite. They just want to see if they can control your emotions.
You absolutely have to keep this golden rule in mind. Whoever provokes you owns you. Let that sink in for a second. The absolute moment you react emotionally to their control test, you have literally handed them the keys to your emotional state. You've lost.
Let's quickly walk through the three main traps they'll use to try and get those keys from you. First up is the emotional reaction bait. They want your face to flush red. They want your voice to crack. An angry response is basically a trophy for them that screams, "I have power over you." Second is the justification trap. Listen, the moment you nervously start explaining or defending yourself, you validate their attack. Because in the social court of opinion, the person desperately justifying themselves always looks guilty. And third, and honestly, this one is the most insidious, is the awkward laughter gambit. By laughing at a joke made at your own expense, you are sacrificing your dignity for just a split second of social harmony. You're teaching them that you have absolutely zero boundaries. And this beautifully illustrates the choice you have. If you fall into those traps, if you get angry, if you defend yourself, or if you laugh, you are willingly walking right into their cage, handing them the lock, and then standing there wondering why you feel completely powerless. What you actually must do is radically different. You must stop playing their game altogether.
Which brings us to Section 3, your arsenal of indifference. We are leveling up your defenses. Time to gear up. Let's learn the 3 specific, escalating moves you can use to totally dismantle their control game.
All right, level 1 is your basic, everyday shield, the cold smile and pivot. Imagine someone throws a verbal jab at you. Your gut instinct is to get defensive, right? Don't. Instead, give them this tiny, barely there lift at the corners of your mouth.
It's the exact same smile you would give a toddler who just proudly showed you a really terrible crayon scribble. It's calm, it's dismissive, and it is devastating. You just hold their gaze for one single beat, letting the silence do all the heavy lifting for you, and then you instantly pivot. You turn to someone else and ask about the quarterly reports, the weather, or literally whatever else you were already talking about.
Because by executing this pivot, you are sending a massive, completely silent message. You're telling them that their insult was so utterly insignificant, it didn't even register on your radar as an interruption. You just leave them standing there, awkwardly holding their own conversational grenade, while you have already effortlessly moved on. It is brilliant.
Now let's look at level 2, the understated boundary. Sometimes just ignoring it isn't quite enough, especially if they've crossed a very clear line. But here is the trick. You do this with surgical precision, absolutely no anger. You don't address it in front of the whole crowd. You wait until things are completely calm later on. Then you approach them one-on-one and in a low, firm, entirely neutral tone, you state your boundary. You say something like, "I don't appreciate jokes about my career. Let's keep that off the table." Notice how you are not asking for permission here. You are simply informing them of a rule.
Now, if they're a decent person, they'll apologize. But if they get defensive, well, you've just learned exactly who they are. And that leads us perfectly into the foundational mindset for our final physical defense. I really want this to sink in. Your presence is a privilege. It is not a right. You do not owe anyone your time or your energy. Period. And that powerful mindset is exactly what fuels level 3, the strategic exit. If you've already set a calm boundary and they ignore it, or if you just find yourself in a toxic environment where disrespect is the norm, you just leave. You don't announce it to the room, you certainly don't storm out in a huff, you politely excuse yourself and walk away. Honestly, walking away from a situation that's completely unworthy of your time is the ultimate flex. It requires absolutely zero confrontation, but it demonstrates immense self-respect to everyone watching.
All right, finally we reach section 4, the ultimate immunity. This is the cheat code for unbothered peace. The smile, the pivot, the exit, those are all incredibly powerful shields for sure. But this master level, it isn't a shield at all. It is a fundamental shift in how you view the entire world around you.
So here is the absolute crucial point you have to remember. An insult is never about you, it's a confession. When someone actually takes the time out of their day to insult you, they are not describing you, not at all. They are acting as a mirror, actively broadcasting their own insecurities, their own deepest fears, and their own broken inner state.
Let's think about this through a really striking medical metaphor. If a person suffering from jaundice looks at you and tells you that your skin looks yellow, you don't argue with them, right? You don't get super defensive about your skin color. You simply realize they're seeing the world through the filter of their own illness. Well, guess what? Disrespect is exactly the same thing. The person mocking your ambition, they are just loudly confessing that they are haunted by their own lack of it. You would never argue with a sick person, so why on earth would you argue with an insecure person about your own worth?
And guys, once this finally clicks for you, the game changes forever. Their insult is no longer a weapon. It actually transforms into a gift. It becomes a free, high-definition look right into their character flaws. You are no longer the target here. You become this calm observer, just sitting back and watching someone completely exhaust themselves, shadowboxing with their own inner demons. You can literally just let a secret smile bloom inside you, fully knowing that you are completely 100% safe.
Which leaves us with one final, very important question for you to take away today. The next time you are socially ambushed, are you going to exhaust yourself trying to fight back, or will you gracefully step aside and realize there was never actually a fight to begin with? Remember, true power isn't having the ability to win the shouting match. True power is making your opponent and all of their opinions entirely and utterly irrelevant. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now get out there and guard your peace.